everyone, Lady Sapphire here. I usually release videos every Tuesday and Thursday between 6 and 10 depending on the content of my videos. And if you want to like and subscribe down below to support me, that'd be wonderful. If not, carry on. But today's video will be about love, what real love is, and how to really maintain long-lasting love, because that's a challenge that a lot of us struggle with every day, and I really want to get into that today and have a little bit of fun with it. So, here we go. So, let's talk about love, baby. Sorry, I had to. Alright, so in my previous videos, I talk a lot about brain chemistry, how that all works, and how attraction works. And attraction is the initial start to love, but it is not a guaranteed love. It does not have to lead to love. And love and attraction don't always go hand in hand. You can love someone and not be attracted to them, and that doesn't have to be like a sexual love. There can be like a friendship love that you can have for other people around you that have nothing to do with attraction. So when I'm talking about love, I'm talking about what keeps a couple together, what makes us stay with that person for the rest of our lives, and what makes us want to stay with that person for the rest of our lives. So when we're talking about this, we really have to get into it's very individual, which is where the expression "there's someone for everyone" comes from. We all have very different needs, desires, lifestyles, careers, I'm not talking just sex, I'm talking about life desires and life needs that we all have, and we all have to embrace that we all have these individual needs, and not everyone is going to fit those needs. And this is where dating comes in, when we learn about picking that person we want to spend our life with, or we want to spend our time with, because not everybody's out there looking for a lifelong partner. Some people are just looking for fun, and that's fine. But what I'm talking about today is more lifelong, looking for that partner to spend the rest of your life with. So when we get into this particular topic, that's what I'm discussing. It's more or less people who are looking for that forever love, because there are just as many out there looking for love as looking for fun. And I know I was one looking for fun and found love. So you stumble into all sorts of things. So let's just get into it. So again, individual, lifestyle, of course we have to keep all of that in consideration, but we also have to keep in mind that our brains will try to trick us. I talked about this during attraction too. Our brains will trick us because there's hormones always on the move. They're just always on the move. They're doing all sorts of things that we're not even constantly aware of. It's just happening in our brains at all times. So when we're talking about like when we fall in love with someone, it's that initial attraction, and then seeing how they meet your needs and how they meet your lifestyle and how everything comes into place to unify. Because what you're doing is you're trying to unify two people. And that's not an easy task when everyone is individual and unique and has their own needs and has their own desires. We got to look around for the right one, because we're not going to find it right off the get-go. The first attraction is probably not going to be your lifelong partner. Now, granted, there are people who have their childhood sweethearts or their high school sweethearts, and they marry and they're happy forever, and I wish them well, and I am glad they found each other so early on in life. But that is not typically how people find their partners. Much more often, we're in our lives, in our worlds, doing our thing. And I use the term "our worlds" because we all have our own, like, this is my home, this is my job, this is my world. We all have our own worlds. Not that we're like the center of the world. So I want to clarify that before I get too into this. But when we're talking about our worlds and what we have created of our worlds, we have to live in it and then see if people kind of come in and fit in our weird Lego patterns, however their weird Lego patterns are set up, and see if we fit, and see if their crazy kind of matches our crazy, because we're all a little bit crazy. And if you say you're not, that just means you are crazy, because if you're not crazy, you know you're crazy. So it's one of those weird loopholes where you have to admit we're all a little weird to move on to life. But that's just it. We are all a little bit weird. We're all a little bit different. We're all a little bit strange. So we're looking for people to match our strange, to match our weird. So there's step one, is finding those people that match our weird. But that could just lead to friendships. That could just lead to lifelong all sorts of things. Friendships can move through all sorts of patterns too. Like, there can be people who start off as friends who move into fun buddies that turn back to friends. That there's no hard feelings. Everybody's just love our friends and move on. Um, and then other people are very tight-laced about sex, where it's like, no, I only have sex with someone that I'm in a long-term relationship with, that I am considering settling down with, and that's fine too. But I do encourage that we at least learn ourselves and experiment first. I'm just going to throw that out there because that's just what I do. I'm the masturbation, I don't know, little cheerleader or something. I don't know. Figure something out there. But, it's just that's something that we should do before we go into the world, is learn ourselves and then go into the world so that we can educate our partners correctly on what we like, what we want, what we need on the day-to-day, because there's so much more than just sex in life. There's the day-to-day. There's the, I hate doing dishes. I love doing laundry. I happen to find a guy who loves doing dishes and isn't a huge fan of laundry. Woot, are we blend. We have these weird day-to-day things that we just mesh on. And when you're looking for a long-term, long-lasting relationship, those are the kind of weird things you kind of need to figure out, which is why the best relationships are usually ones that live together for a period of time before they get married. Whether they have sex or not is irrelevant. That is not what I'm trying to portray at all. But living together, learning how each other lives, how each other goes the day-to-day. Is he a huge slob? Is she a huge slob? Is that something you can deal with? Are you a neat freak that will go crazy living with a slob? Or are you a slob and you're like, yeah, our slob can blend? Whatever your case might be, we have to find those people that match our needs and match our lifestyle desires. So when we're looking into finding love, don't just settle for, well, I'm attracted to him. Like, I think he's cute. Because, I think lots of people are cute. That does not mean that I want to go and marry them. That does not mean that I want to even have fun with them or even get to know them just because I'm physically attracted to them. Because there's so much more to a person than just if I find them physically attractive or if I find their pheromones enchanting. Like that, those are not things that are going to dictate my life decisions, and they shouldn't be yours either. They shouldn't be something that dictates our life decisions. We should make life decisions based on educated and I don't mean educated like going to school. I mean like you are aware of the consequences to your actions. You are aware of what will need to happen to succeed in whatever your goal might be. If it's finding a place, you know that you can afford said place and that you have a way of taking care of said place. Whatever it might be, whatever your goal is, can you do that as a team? Can you figure out how to function as a team when it comes to the basic life things so that you know that you'll be better off when it comes to parenting? And what kind of decisions will you make buying homes financially? And what kind of financial person are they? Because we have financial needs. Some people, like me, I'm a bit of a simplest. When it comes to the whole basis, I'm good with just having what I'm comfortable with. Other people need to be covered in shiny things. They need to be full of the best makeup and the best of everything. And I get that. If that's your thing, I wish you well in your life, and I hope you find someone who can support you in that decision. I hope that you take responsibility for your own needs in that way, where you're not expecting someone else to take care of you financially. That's just not healthy. We should all take some responsibility for our own lives ourselves. You know, if you're living as a team, then that means finances are shared, whether that means your accounts are shared or not, because maybe you're with someone who's a little bit less financially responsible, and you take control. That still doesn't mean that the other person isn't responsible for themselves in some way, whether it's just bringing money to the home and it's dispersed by the responsible one. That still is teamwork. That still means you're working as a team to make sure both are bringing in some kind of finance, some kind of responsibility for themselves to prove that they have some independent skills. That's something that I do encourage when you're looking for a life mate. Someone who has those skills of independence are actually very critical to surviving in the long term as a couple, because they need to know how to take care of themselves. You need to know how to take care of yourself so that when you come together, you already know, I'm not a huge fan of doing the bills, or I'm not a huge fan of doing this or that. Like, I don't, like, that's not my person, I'm just using this as examples. But, when we're talking about, like, lifestyle and will they be good decision makers? Will they be strong assets to you as a partner? Those are all things you should consider. Now, just because someone might be a little bit financially irresponsible doesn't mean they'll necessarily be a bad mate, but they'll need someone who's more responsible and who is willing to kind of put the reins down and be like, no, you can't do that. I'm going to take control if I pay the bills or I do the rent because I don't want to risk your financial irresponsibility. And that's fine. There has to be a balance, and there's always going to be a balance of some kind or another. There's going to be give and take in every relationship. But you want to make sure that whoever you choose, you blend with, that you can definitely imagine not just sitting on the porch at 80, but sitting at the kitchen table around the bills on a Thursday night going, all right, we got to pay this, we got to pay that, and how's it all going to work? And is there a balance? Is everything set up? And even though I'm not going to say that people are perfect, they're not. There's going to be times when one's taking care of the other or finances get a little behind. That's just reality of life. But are they going to help support you through those hard times, or are they going to drag you down through those hard times? And that's what you really have to stop and think about, because it's really nice to romanticize love and relationships and that long-term love as this, oh, it's always going to be rainbows. But it really isn't. There's going to be a lot of downtime. There's going to be a lot of time when you're just sitting there watching TV going, now what do we do? And if you can't think of, let's play a game of cards and not lose your minds, you probably shouldn't stay with that person for very long. Because what are you going to do when you're retired or when you're in a hard time of life and you don't have a supportive person behind you, or you don't have someone who's willing to stand with you when you're having a hard time? Those are things you really want to look out for. So make sure that you're not tricked by your mind, because your brain likes to play tricks on you. It likes to play these little games with the hormones where it's like, well, that person, genetically, our sploosh could mix and we could have babies, so you want that person. But that doesn't mean they're going to be a good father, a good husband, or a good wife, or a good mother, just because you go, they're really good looking. We'd make pretty babies. Real pretty babies. That shouldn't be the only deciding factor. And just a really quick side note, I'm almost done, but just a quick side note, I really hope this video helps people kind of learn to look for the right things, or maybe you can see some things that they need to change in their own lives or their own relationships. But I will be doing more videos on actual relationship building, on what the signs of a dangerous relationship and what sexual abuse can really look like. It is not just rape. There is a whole bunch of other things in there that I want to make sure girls and boys are aware of, and men and women are aware of, because you'd be amazed how many things could be control and manipulation when really you think that they're in love with you and they're not. That is coming in the future. I'm actually, next week is probably going to be kind of devoted to relationship danger signs and that kind of thing. But I really want to do this love one because I find people are so fooled by their brains, or by the fact that they kind of fall into infatuation when they're young, and they go, he's so pretty. And then they end up getting together and maybe one gets pregnant, or maybe they just fall in love and they think everything's great, but they have nothing to base that on. They have nothing to create a real relationship upon. We're all tricked by the movie industry and the book industry where it's like, well, we need to we need to find that man to fall in love with, get married and have children, and that's it. That's the end of our lives. There's no more to it. That's it. But that's not the reality. There is still life after you get married and have your kids. You have to raise these kids. You have to work, probably, because we live in a society where you can't afford to have one income in a household. Thus, you should probably find someone independent enough to know how to make their own money, or at least, something along those lines. But you want to make sure that you are protecting yourself and your future, because we all have a future to protect. So make sure that whoever you choose to settle down with are looking out for you as well, that you're both looking out to protect each other's future so that you both have the best, happiest life possible. And really quickly, if you are stuck in a relationship that you can't get out of or that you feel trapped in, there are resources to get out if you're in danger of like physical violence or sexual violence. If that is something that's there, there are lots of resources available. I will add a couple into my tags for women looking to get away, as well as there's a few apps. I will put a link into one of the apps that is known through Dr. Phil and Robin McGraw, who was made by Robin McGraw. That is something you can hide on your phone. I won't get into the details because I don't want to like expose it in case someone who's an abuser is watching, but I will throw some links in below to lead you to different things to get out of abusive relationships if you're in one. And if you're not in one, then just keep your eyes open. Like, make sure you're always aware of who people really are and how they'll blend in your life, especially if you're looking for a long-term relationship. Make sure you're not just blinded by, oh, they're really pretty, or oh, they're very handsome, or oh, I love how their eyes sparkle. Don't get lost in that, because that's only a small part. That's just the attraction, initial attraction, and you don't want to confuse infatuation with love. You want to make sure you always maintain mutual respect and understanding, and keep that in place at all times. Just keep mutual respect, mutual understanding, always in play. If you aren't in a relationship or you are looking for a relationship and you don't really know what to look for, you want someone who's going to respect your choices, who is going to respect all your choices, who is going to be open to conversations. They might not always agree. You will have times that you argue and you disagree on things, but can you both respect each other enough to keep the conversation in a positive route that can build to a better relationship? And if you can't even have simple conversations, then it ain't love. That ain't love. Don't fall for it. Don't get tricked by your brain. Just move forward and find some real love out there, because it exists. There is real love. There is real mutual respect out there. If you've had bad experiences, there is hope for you. And my future videos will talk about the signs to look out for, and we're going to get really into that next week. So I hope you enjoy this video. I hope you'll enjoy next week's, and I'll see you later.